This is another wonderful episode of the Pest Experience show. If this is your first time joining, well, my name is Roberto Fudas, and you are welcome to another wonderful episode of the Pest Experience show. Well, the Pest Experience show cut across different states, across different cities, across different countries, where we talk about every single thing that has to do with pest and pest control. On this channel, on Insight Radio, it's a wonderful one. Where we get to talk about pest and pest management, frequently asked questions, tips and strategies that cut across different states, across different cities, across different country, different strata, where we talk about these things, right? Tonight is going to be another wonderful night as usual, where we reconnect, share, it's pest experience. So we're basically talking about several experiences of pest control in the industry. And you know that the Pest Experience show we're always a guest. We talk about different things across different states, across different cities, across different country. But before we get started tonight, before I introduce you to the topic that we're going to be talking about tonight, for those who are going to be watching all over again after this live session, you already know the topic. But before we dabble into today's topic, let's quickly go on a short break, and we'll be right back. All right. You're welcome back from that quick break. Right. Last week, let me first start with last week. The show is basically every Sunday, 7 to 8 p.m. West African time here, streaming directly from Nigeria. And, definitely we have guests across different states. We have listeners across different cities, across different countries. Looking at the major focus of emphasizing on creating awareness in pest management globally. Right, the Pest Experience show is just one of many things that I do personally. And if you're just seeing me for the first time, my name is Shofu Babalala Theophilus, SB for short. Most people who are used to me call me SB. If you're probably going to be my very good guest, my audience on the Pest Experience show, the easiest route is SB. Right, so last week we have a roundtable discussion right on the Pest Experience show here. The roundtable is basically the session where we bring all the community members of the Pest Experience Club, Pest Experience family. So if you're not part of the Pest Experience Society or the community, right, you want to send me a DM, or send us a DM rather, on the numbers that's on the description of this video. Send a DM to that number. We'll add you to the community. It's free. Right, so it's free, and we have entomologists, we have pest control experts, we have leaders, mentors who are in that group. You can ask questions, and definitely you would get answers from professionals, people who are going to help you and not keep any correct and right information for your own growth. Right? So you're welcome. Last week we talked about industry challenges. And the industry challenges are about 8 or 5, I think about 6 of them. But we couldn't finalize so much on not finalize, we couldn't finish up the entire challenges that were listed out to be talked about and also acted upon. Like I said, the Pest Experience is not just a show where we just talk. No. It's a show where we also emphasize on what are the solutions that we want to see in the industry? What are the solutions that we want to be part of? What are the solutions that we want to implement, right, to solve a real-time problem in the industry globally, right? We had experts, we had mentors who also shared their own experience in terms of hiring, in terms of retaining staff, in terms of maintaining beautiful relationship within your organization. Also, we also talked about product challenges in the industry. We also talked about manufacturing, local manufacturers, the importance of having local manufacturers in our industry today, right? And this is basically to encourage you to, if you've not watched the show, please go and watch it. It's directly on YouTube, Inside Radio. You see Pest Control Roundtable, Industry Roundtable, right? You want to go and watch it, learn, unlearn, and relearn. It's quite very, very important, right? Tonight we're going to be every Sunday, last Sunday of the month, we'll be having a roundtable discussion on Zoom. So if you're not part of the community, you might not get the link to be part of the community. So it gives everybody the advantage to talk about what they feel, what they see on their daily, share their own experience. I want to hear from you, not that we're just bringing up a guest every Sunday, right? We also want to hear from the public in terms of professionals, right? We want to hear from you guys, and let's see the solutions that we're going to implement. Maybe the policy makers, the regulatory bodies are going to implement alongside with what is going on. It's important to collaborate, and in terms of collaboration, basically also collaborate with the regulatory bodies, because that's exactly where we can together solve the problems and the challenges that we're experiencing in the industry, right? So that brings me into today's topic. Like I said, please, if you have not watched it, please go and watch it. Watch the show. It's directly on YouTube. And last Sunday of every month, we'll be having another roundtable. The link to join the roundtable will be shared in our community only, and also the general public who is going to watch it directly on YouTube, as you're watching me live on YouTube right now. So this Sunday, the major topic we're talking about is pest control, professional standards in pest control. What are the non-negotiables? Do you agree with me that pest control is a very, very robust industry on its own, and there's an important aspect that we all need to take, or let me say there are so many important aspects in the industry that we need to take extremely seriously. When I say extremely seriously, the important aspects that we need to, non-negotiables, like we just have to do it. We have to do it. We have to do it. It's important so that we can keep the standards of operations, keep the standards in terms of regulatory, keep the standards in terms of your own organization, keep the standard in your own business, right? So today we're going to be talking about those non-negotiables. It's also like a part of what we've talked about last week Sunday, and alongside I'll also be bringing up a guest, to talk about some other things that are part of this. And first and foremost, right, happy new month. Welcome to the month of March, right? Welcome to the month of March. I pray that this month is going to be a month of favor, blessings for you all who are listening, and the audience globally, right? So happy new month. Welcome to March. Just keep my mind. Right? So today we're going to talk about non-negotiables, and my non-negotiables are categorized into six classes of my non-negotiables. Number one, service protocols, right? And we're going to take them one after the other. Service protocols, treatment documentations, right? Chemical handling and safety is important. You see, this cut across not just, I said it in the last show when we talked about training your technicians, training your staff. You can do yourself a lot of favor by reducing the cost of training for your team by them just joining webinars, shows, and programs like this. Just a Sunday. Make it compulsory, make it mandatory for them, right? Every Sunday, just tune into YouTube, be at your home place, and you just listen and let them give you a report of what was said during that show. What did they learn differently? So reduces your cost of trainings and all those kind of stuff. With that, you have very good people who are ready to do the work. You see the acceptance of willingness to learn from this set of people. It takes a lot, to have regular programs like this every Sunday, But I mean, something I've been doing for like 3 good years, over 3 years now. If you check most of our programs on YouTube, you see 3 years ago, 2 years ago. It's what we have been doing consistently, having regular programs like this, educating people on pest management. Consistently for good 3 years. And it's important, right? It's important that we keep increasing the awareness of pest management. And this is not just to sell myself, right? It's basically to also sell the industry, right? And the moment I sell the industry, myself sells. So I'm just doing what is important, right? Okay, so we're going to be talking about customer communication. It's non-negotiable. We need to talk about that, right? It's important. If you don't communicate properly with your client, then you're doing yourself a disharm, right? By not getting a perfect result, because your result is also based on how you communicate, how well you communicate with your clients. So we're going to disseminate most of all these things one after the other. We're also going to talk about resistance management discipline. What do you do when you have resistance in some particular set of species of insect pests, and what needs to be done immediately, right? What's your action plan? What's the plan of the organization when you notice resistance? And again, do you even know that the pest that you're trying to deal with has gained resistance over time? Another thing, right? So these are the things and many more. We'll also talk about operational accountability, what you need to do during the operation procedures and all those kind of stuff. So if you're just joining, welcome to the PestXperience show. Right, welcome back. All right, you agree with me that every professional must first follow a structure, and structure is based on several things, right? Structure is based on so many things, okay? In terms of organization, in terms of results, right? You will also say that professional standards are very much important. Everybody says they are professionals, but professional in what way? In what standard is your professionalism based on? Right? So it's very much important that you also put in that standard. And standard is also very relative, right? The moment your standards are very weak, people get exposed. If your standards are inconsistent, treatments will extremely fail, right? And then if standards are so much ignored, the resistance increases with time. So tonight we'll be talking about all those things. I've listed about 6 of them, right? I'm going to start first with what we call the service protocols. Now, most companies go out with operations without having what they call the standard operating procedure, right? Standard operating procedure, SOP. So if you're a young business owner, you just started, or you're trying to also dabble into the pest control industry, number one thing you need to first have, if you're looking at the growth, is what they call the standard operating procedure, SOP. Have these protocols, have these procedures well documented. In most of my programs, I've said this several times, a lot of people actually just focus and tell the staffs that the staffs are not doing well. You're expecting too much without also communicating too much, right? We expect too much without communicating too much, and you feel like they should know. And you're forgetting the fact that the pest control industry is not like tech, it's not like digital marketing, it's not like customer service, where you can just pick up your phone and it's just to speak to the person, right? So far the person can talk, so far the person has a very good, sweet voice, it can grab everything all at once. Pest control is not the same thing. You have to show them when you're dealing with bed bugs, this is the procedure. When you're steaming, this is the steps to steam. You don't just steam from bottom top. It's from top to bottom. You see all those kind of little, it's in the little things, right? It's in very, very little things. You don't puff dust in surfaces, right? You puff dust into cracks and crevices, right? Those kind of things. Those are what is involved in the standard operating procedure, your SOP. Now, in terms of service protocols, a pest control company should include, number one, a proper inspection, identification, risk assessment, treatment plan, post-treatment advice in their own protocol, right? Your service should have, number one, inspection, how to inspect, where to inspect, what are things that you are also inspecting for. If you don't understand how to inspect or even identify the pest, you see, it's important that you also need to know how to identify. Identification is key in pest management. Identification is key. If you cannot identify the pest, the type of pest that you're dealing with, and this has to also do with the fact that when you're dealing with, let's say for instance, you're dealing with termites. If you don't know how to identify this type of species of termite, or let me say, what kind of termites are you dealing with? In terms of control, you're probably going to be at the back end, right? You want to use the same process of damp wood termites to deal with subterranean termites. that's a lie, right? So it's important to also identify. Then when you now identify this pest, right, there's what we call risk assessment. Risk assessment. What is the re-entry period for your client? When are the clients due to getting back into the apartment? What time? What's the duration? Outdoor duration, re-entry period, handling. How do they ventilate their apartment even after spray, even after treatment? Well, you agree with me that pest control has gone beyond spray and pray method, right? So it also has to do with that aspect of identifying, understanding, and also proper inspection. Okay. Then again, what is the treatment plan? That's why I talked about the SOP. What is the treatment plan to carry out bed bugs? What's the treatment plan for cockroach treatment? What's the treatment plan for termites? Document these things, right? Hopefully one of my programs I would probably share out an SOP, or you can also check out Pest Insights. We'll probably release that on our resource platform coming soon on Pest Insights. So you probably want to subscribe to our channel or on Pest Insights. Definitely, so many resources are coming up on Pest Insights initiative. Just go to www.pestinsight.org. So resources like that will be shared out, like SOP sample will probably be shared out. I'm not sure if I want to review that. But I mean, we can actually, right, pull it out. And if you're interested, let me know in the comment section. Probably you're interested in SOP, having an SOP guide for your organization designed for you, right? So also, what's the treatment plan? What is the post-treatment advice? What do clients do after your treatment procedure? What do they do after 24 hours after the treatment? What are the expectations like after the treatment? What are the things that they need to do to prevent reinfestation? How can they prevent this pest from reoccurring? How can they prevent somebody bringing this pest back into their houses? So you talk about, for example, weevils. I had a case recently, PestXperience. I would definitely share my experiences, right? I had a case recently with a commercial facility, and the racks were infested with weevils. Whereas one of the what do you call this? I think it was Semovita bag of Semovita was literally infested with weevils. And the first instruction when you are having weevil problem is dispose the infested food item, right? But it's a commercial facility. It's a supermarket, right? Do you expect them to dispose the entire semovita packs of them, right? So they disposed the first batch. The second time again, the newly placed semovita was also infested with weevils. Now, we had to go back there, inspect the place, right? When they raised it, we said, okay, dispose this stuff will come. So when we got there, before we got there the second day, the other newly placed bag of semovita was also infested, right? It brings us back to the fact that when you're doing a treatment, you need to also communicate the expectations like. So we told them, you have to clean the racks, make sure that the racks are cleaned, make sure that there are no signs of those weevils again, because we cannot spray, right? We can't spray the racks, okay? But they need to clean. But they did not clean the racks, right? The racks were left like that. So the weevils that were, probably dropped out from the bag of Zemo, or probably the ones that are still crawling, were able to patch into the new ones and reinfestation again. So the post-treatment advice is also much important. And that will bring us to that topic of customer communication, right? And you cannot communicate, I said this the last program, you cannot communicate what you don't know anything about. Okay? So as a technician, as a company owner or pest control company owner, it's important that you also understand pest biology. You see, as low as threshold level is, as low as tolerance level is, as simple as that language is, threshold level, tolerance level, right? Infestation level, it's important that you understand the nitty-gritty of these few key terms. It's very, very critical. Very, very critical for effective results in pest management, right? The environment also. The environment where you are treating is also much important. The technician must understand the environment. What is making this pest actually delving into the spaces? What is making them to stay? What is making them to grow? What is making them to survive the more? Give an example of the weevils. If those racks are not properly vacuumed, because you cannot spray. So when you dispose the bags, you dispose the infested food items, but you forget the fact that you also need to vacuum so that there is no species or any leftover of a single weevil right on the rack, right? So far you can take away those weevils, those infested food items, the weevils, the leftover stuff, it gives you perfect control, right? So without protocol, you are extremely just gambling with chemicals, just spraying. One of my guests, Mr. Andrew Sutherland, when we had the show with him, he said spray and pray method. It was one that talked about the spray and pray method. You're just spraying and you're praying, this thing must work. It's not possible. It doesn't work like that, right? So make this strong. So it's an important thing that you have to emphasize so much on within your team, right? And you can only train what you know personally. So you personally, as a homeowner, a business owner, it's important that you have that procedure well documented. It's non-negotiable. It's very, very non-negotiable. That's number one, right? And again, it's important also, number two, key non-negotiable aspect of pest control, of what we call professional standards and pest control, is documentation. It's what you document that you can be able to talk about. One major weakness of our industry globally is documentation. That's one of the major weaknesses. The moment you don't have a proper document that states this is what to do when our technicians arrive, this is how to do it when they leave your site, you've not started the job. You've not done anything. So documentation is critical. Documentation is important. And your document should involve, right? Should have, number one, the treatment report. the chemical that is used, right? The technician that did the job, client's acknowledgement, that's client's feedback, or probably client's signature, right? The duration of treatment done. The pest sightings should also be there. The location of pest sightings should also be there. If possible, right, your service report should talk about pesticide dosage used. Most especially for pest control companies that are dealing with commercial facility, you should have the dosage used, the type of pesticide applied, especially in a food facility, right? Recommendations should also be stated in your report. Your recommendation as a technician, your recommendation as a company should also be stated in that report. Then, which technician carried out the operation? What date was the job carried out? Right? Because the documentation protects quite a lot of people: the client, the technician, the company, and the industry at large. The service report should contain certain major things. So if you have not been issuing reports to your client, let it start from today. And funny enough is that there are tools that can help you automate service reports. Right? There are tools that can help you automate your service report. I mean, there's a company that helps, in setting up, automating your service report and setting up your service report, making sure that your organization is well automated, building up that standard. We can't talk about standard without looking at proper automation tools. We're in the age of AI, digital tools, and all those kind of stuff. So there are companies that help you do that. Provider helps you do that. So if you need help with that, you can go to www.myprovider. It's PROVYDR, right? PROVYDR, right? I'm going to put it in the description. So www.myprovider, MYPROVYDR. Instead of provider is VYDR.com, right? Go to myprovider.com and book a consultation with the consultant, right? And definitely they'll put you through on how to automate your procedures in terms of service, clients request, appointment booking, service report, clients communication afterwards. I mean, there are tools that can be introduced to your organization, right? On this topic of service report, right? So it's important that we also look into that aspect, right? Documentation is critical. It saves you a lot of story. So imagine a client is coming back to you and say, okay, you know what? You didn't tell me I need to provide electricity. Madam, did you read the document? Did you read the terms and conditions? Most companies don't even do this aspect of terms and conditions. They don't even share this terms and condition document to clients. It's important. It saves you a lot of stress. I give you an example. A client reached out recently and were like, you guys, I'm not sure I can carry out the treatment because there is no light, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, it's stated in your document, even before we started the job, right? It's stated in your service, your terms and conditions that you have to provide electricity, you have to provide water. In some cases, you get to clients' apartments and they don't even have water to do the job, right? So it's important that you also look into that aspect, right, of communication. Okay, so that's documentation. Okay, so it's important that needs to also properly be done. So documentation is critical. Documentation saves you a lot of stress, right? Then you also have chemical handling and safety. This cut across in fact, it's basically non-negotiable. Extremely non-negotiable. But you must always understand first, proper dilution, what quantity of products is needed to achieve the results that you want, right? What quantity of the pesticides, what quantity of the insecticide is important to get that result that you want. I mean, during my last program with that was Mr. Larkin Shole, Bug Zappers, the director of Bug Zappers, we talked about products, we talked about pesticides. They were not even sure about the dilution of most of these products. The products can read 200 SC, but inside the product, are we sure that it's actually 200 SC that is actually inside that product? Right? So, I mean, but what the label states is what the pest control company should follow. Right? The accurate dosage is important. It's important that you follow the accurate dosage, understanding the active ingredients. I've had this experience with so many technicians that they can't even actually pronounce active ingredients. Just on pyropox, you finish that. So it's just how if a technician cannot actually state what is active ingredient in a particular product, what are things that kills the insect inside the product that they are using, how are we sure that they can actually understand the job itself? Right? So it's non-negotiable. You must know active ingredients. Right? For those who are probably new to the industry, want to start the industry, these are things that you actually need to actually understand, know, focus more on. Active ingredients, the type of PP. And I used to say something, I said this with my guys recently, in our last training, that there are some of the products that you guys are using on sites that your current PPE cannot absorb. That's because they don't even read the MSDS. They don't even read. They're talking about MSDS. They don't even read the label. Not talking about MSDS. So please encourage your guys, encourage your team, encourage your technicians, and if you are the business, if it's a solo man thing, right? Encourage yourself. Dig again, right? Encourage yourself to read the label, read the product label, right? Understand the active ingredients. And respecting label instruction is very much important. Follow what the label states. Follow what it's saying. Follow what is the exact instructions that are stated in the label. It gives you perfect results. It gives you peace of mind. We've had several experiences where the label will tell you that this product is meant to be used outdoor, but you feel like I'll give you an example. Pyriproxyfen, right, is an active ingredient. If you probably want to get rid of flies, right, or roaches, right, so most of these insects, because pyriproxyfen is an insect growth inhibitor in itself, right, but there are different types of that same pyriproxyfen. Not because it's pyriproxyfen now doesn't mean that. I've seen this in a particular brand. Manufacturer, right? They produce pyriproxyfen, and the name of the product is actually pyriproxyfen, right? But it's stated on the label that this one is actually only for outdoor use. Then I went to check the manufacturer's site. I saw that there's another pyriproxyfen that can be used indoor, right? So this brings us back to the fact that understanding the MSDS, what they call the Material Safety Data Sheet, understanding the label gives you a ton of information that will give perfect results in solving pest problem, right? When professionals ignore label instructions, right, resistance develops faster. Okay, so for instance, you've used pyriproxyfen, you've used beta-cypermethrin, you mix the two together, and whereas one of the products states that's only for outdoor, and you're using beta-cypermethrin that is actually indoor product. Are we clear? Right? So I feel like that summarizes a lot inside of it. So it's important to read the label, because you can be using the products that can be choking to you, right? It can kill the insect. It means that it can actually even kill you, or it has the potential to also kill you, right? So it's important that you read the label. Okay, professionalism is not how confidently you spray, but it's also responsible to you handling chemicals, right? I jotted this down while I was preparing for this show. That professionalism is not how confidently you spray, right? But it's how responsibly you handle the products, the chemicals, the insecticides, the herbicide, the termiticide, right? So this is very, very much important. And there's no how we can talk about pesticide without looking at what they call resistance management. Resistance is key, because overdose. I heard this from was it George Bedoya, right? They talked about Jeff White, Mr. Jeff White, the White Mantis Consultancy. When it was on my show. I don't think I actually have that show. I don't have the recording of the show. I'm gonna look for it on my system. I don't have the recording of it. When I had Mr. Jeff White on the PestXperience show about 4 years or 3 years ago, thereabout. And he talked about something, and he also stated this. He also stated this in the bedbug show or a conference like that. He said resistance is not. It doesn't mean that when an insect gain resistance or bedbug gain resistance, it doesn't mean that the insects will not die when you spray the product, but it means that larger quantity of the product is required to solve the pest problem. So let me give you an instance. So you're dealing with bedbugs, and let's say, for example, let me say roaches. Feel like, because I don't use so many products in terms of bedbug treatment. So when you talk about roaches, right? So let's say you're mixing 20 mil to about 4 liters, thereabouts. Just an example, right? Normal basis. But now you're dealing with a resistant German roach, right? So because it's a resistant German roach, you need about 40 mil or 30 mil of that particular product, because that 20 mil will not be enough to knock it down, because they've gained resistance. So resistance is not just product issue, right? It's a standard issue. And resistance happens when you put so much, when you over apply, right? When you underdose, right? When you repeat, this happens so much when you repeat the same. One of the most common way resistance occur is when you repeat the same active ingredient over time. Okay? So you take a particular beta-submachine active ingredient, the same time again you are using the same beta-submachine, the same time again for the same clients again you are using the same beta-submachine. Change it. Use a carbamate, right? Use a phenylpyrrose, right? You pyrrose. Change your active ingredients. Change the class of the active ingredients entirely. Organophosphate is a no-go area, right? Most of organophosphate products are actually even banned now, right? So it's important that you rotate, I call rotating insecticides, or rotating your bait if you're dealing with bait, right? So it's important that you take away resistance or avoid resistance in your treatment process. That's called resistance management. Okay? Then you also have what we call professional pest management. Professional pest management should include understanding the mode of action. So you see, mode of action of insects, a lot of people just forget about the fact that you need to understand also the mode of action. How does this insecticide work? What pathway does it affect in the insect? Is it the acetylyrase? Is it the nucleus? Is it the potassium ion? Or is it the sodium ion that the product affects? Right? So it's important to understand the mode of action of the insecticides on the insect. Right? Then every organization should have what we call a rotational cycle or rotational strategy. How do you rotate your rodenticides in a particular? So when you're dealing with a food facility, and I mean the pest is non-negotiable in that particular case. So you must always rotate your bait with time. Rotate your bait, right? If you're using the first generation anticoagulant, you change to a second generation. If possible, you can use a non-anticoagulant, but in a very secured and maintained area, right? For those who understand the non-anticoagulant, zinc phosphide and the rest, right? So you must always understand how to apply it, where to apply it, when to apply it, right? So in a food facility, it might be a no-go area, right? But just saying that it's important that you understand how to rotate your rodenticides in that kind of situation. So, I mean, we can't talk about resistance management without emphasizing on what we call integrated pest management, IPM. That is where you actually involve more of technicalities, right? Equipment, exclusion, sanitation. Like, for example, the case of the weevils. I mean, we cannot deal with those weevils effectively if you do not vacuum. It has gone beyond the aspect of spraying. Spraying would not do the job itself, right? Spraying alone will not do the job, right? So there is a need. There is an important need. There's an important need for that aspect of cleaning, what they call sanitation, habitat alteration, right? Those are things that are involved in integrated pest management, biological control, habitat alteration, sanitation, exclusion practice. Critical. Exclusion practice, for those who don't know what exclusion practice is, exclusion is basically sealing up all the entry points and the exit points for the pests. Right? So it's very much important that you look at those major areas. Right? We've talked about service protocols. We've also talked about chemical handling. We've talked about resistance management. We've talked about service protocols. We've talked about a little bit about customer communication. But now, let's look at customer communication. So when you say customer communication, people feel like it's just basically just telling the customers these are things that you need to do. No. You first start with when you get the client, what do you tell them? When the requests come in, what do you communicate to them? Right? So a professional does not just treat. A professional do what? Educate. That's what I have in my job here. I mean, a professional should educate. Because professionals should educate on what to do, how to do it, when to do it. A client must understand what was done, what to expect, what not to expect, and what is their role in dealing with this pest issue. Right? I mean, there's something that's very common with commercial facility, and which is the fact that they expect that when you come in, you do the magic, the pest goes off finally, and there are still holes that these rodents are passing through that they need to seal up and they've not sealed it up. Right? So it's important that you also state it clearly. That's why service report and documentation is critical. I've said it before. If you don't have tools that can help you automate this thing, please go to www.myprovider.com. Book a session with our consultants there. We'll take you through on how to automate your systems, right? And you can have these things properly automated. When technicians are done with the job, automatically the service report gets to send to the clients depending on what you want, right? The automations are customer specific, right? So it's important. That's why you have consultants, right, and provider. So overpromising is unprofessional. So when you overpromise clients and say, okay, you know what, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Clients will say, oh, you know, just come in, solve the pest problem, and that's it. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. So if you overpromise them and tell them, oh, you know what, this is how we do it, these are things that you need to expect, blah, 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 and you will not see the pest again, my brother, that's unprofessionalism. And that will affect your work and affect the industry at large also. right? So blaming products without reviewing your application is also unprofessional. I had a termite case recently, and before I actually even got to the point of talking about the product, I first had to go back and research and see, what, there's this species of termites. I think there's something spectacular about them. They are just so aggressive. The numbers are increasing. They are migrating from from stronger zones to weaker zones. I just had to do my research before I talk about the product. Right? So blaming your product without reviewing your application strategy is unprofessional. Okay? So disrespecting client property is also unprofessional. When you look at your client property and you say, I have to just tear out these things, you have to tear out this one, you have to break that wall, it's also unprofessional. So your standard also has to do with your character. Right? So communicating properly is also very much important. So it's also very much important that you train your team on how to communicate properly. They are the ones interfacing with the client on a daily basis, so they must know how to communicate properly. Then number 6, you have industry responsibility. Right? This is also non-negotiable. I started with the fact that regulators are doing their work, but we need to collaborate with the regulators to get the perfect result. Right? Hopefully, one of my shows, I'm going to definitely bring in a mighty man in one of the regulatory bodies on this PestXperience show. And you will definitely hear from these people who would share what exactly are the regulators doing. What exactly are the things that they expect us to do as professionals? What exactly are the things that we're expecting from the industry, right? Regulators are supposed to also be, part of training opportunities, right? I'm sure that, associations, regulatory bodies have plans in terms of trainings, but not all professionals actually know this, right? Not all professionals actually know this. So, like I said, I'm definitely going to bring in one of the regulators on the PestXperience. So watch out. And if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please subscribe right now, right? Subscribe right now so that you can get notification exactly when the regulatory body or a top person will be. And every guest that we bring on be our top people, right? Top persons, right? So if we want better regulations, better products, stronger public trust, local manufacturing growth, right? We must first raise our internal standards in your own organization. And how to raise your standards, I've listed about 5 of them. This is the number 6th one, which is the regulatory body. Industry responsibility, right? Okay, so if we want better regulations, we want better products, better public trust, right? And better results, local manufacturing growth, the industry must also look at internal standards, right? Professional standards are not imposed from outside, they are built from within, right? They are built from within, encouraging trainings, encouraging teams to attend webinars, trainings, sessions like this, shows like this, because definitely there'll be 1 or 2 things that you will actually learn, unlearn, and relearn, right? Pest control is public health. It's a public health profession, right? It must be treated extremely with optimum seriousness, right? And non-negotiable standards involves a couple of things, right? Which are number 1, structured inspection, proper documentation, chemical discipline, right? Customer communication that I've talked about. I've talked about also resistance management. And the last critical aspect is ethical communication. Ethical communication, communicating properly. If we raise our standard, the industry will rise by far. Right? The industry will rise. And when we complain about the industry is me, the industry is you, the industry is also the regulators, the industry is also the associations, right? So if we lower all those things, our standards, the regulations, the associations, the trainings, the communication, the results, the products, the chemical usage, the dosage, the documentation, even the client's education. I can't get right to let me say I can't. Definitely social media these days we can grow global in a blink of an eye, but every single person has a time, has a part to play. That's what I want to say. Every single person has a part to play on this topic of increasing awareness in pest management. So if we raise our standards, definitely the industry will rise, and if we lower them, the industry will definitely suffer it, right? The choice is ours now, right? The choice is ours. The choice is you. The choice is me. The choice is you and me, and even the regulatory bodies, right? So I'm going to end up the entire show with this part that says that the choice is ours. The results that we all dream of, what we want, things that we want us to change, the change that we are aspiring, perspiring, and inspiring for, is dependent on your own activity, my own activity, what we do, how we do it, when we do it, why we do it, right? So we need to actually come together and create that industry that we really dream of. Well, this is the PestXperience show, and my name is Shofu Babaloratiophilos for short. If you'd like to sponsor the PestXperience show, you'd like to be a guest on the PestXperience show, I'm going to pull the numbers to call in right on the show. The numbers is right showing on your screen. You can send a WhatsApp message, or you can call the number, or you can also send us an email, info@insideradio.net. You'd like to share your own experience, you'd like to be a guest, you'd like to sponsor the show, you'd like to place your advert on the show, you can call the number, send a text on WhatsApp, or send us an email right, number showing on your screen, and also the number right in the description. You can send us contact details like that. Well, this is the PestXperience show. I'll see you on the next one, same time, same station, right on Inside Radio. My name is Shofu Babaloratiophilos. Let's be for short. See you next week.